right, one last thing I want
All
to get, definitely want to get to this, and I almost forgot. How are we getting to 100? Like, what's your, like, so, I was watching, first thing, I was debating, I'm like, what's harder, what you did or what I did yesterday? I'm like, okay, mine was 2 hours longer than yours, so it's 2 extra hours of kind of misery, but I wasn't just doing one thing. And I looked at you running yesterday, and I'm like, every time I'd see you, I'm like, it occurred to me, that's me in a half hour.
Yeah.
Like I was just,
right.
I was a few.
I know.
I think what you did was harder, personally. But how do we get to 100? I have some ideas on training wise, but like, what do you think? Because 56 is definitely is hard.
Yeah.
And we're talking pretty much double.
Yeah.
What's the path to 100 in your thoughts
at
the moment?
Okay, so here's my practical path, right? I wish I could say that I was the type of person that can just go knock it out, right? You don't know until you get there, but I've done enough 50s now to know that these mechanisms that I have to work with are not going to just be ones that can go out and run 100, right? It's, probably most people are like that, but I think there's a few crazies that can just go.
Right.
So it's going to take something. Okay, yeah, sorry. One, I do not work well with time limits. Early on, like I've realized that. Even when I was like trying to finish my run before you finished, like then I started getting in my head about pace, and I was like, I got to do this. So whenever we do the 100, my preference is going to be it's completely open ended. It's just to finish. Doesn't matter if it's 27 hours or 36. It's just get one under your belt. So practically, so when we did the backyard ultra, when we were trying to do it every hour on the hour, that's why I fell apart. Right, so I'm not saying make it easier for you, but just practically, like, let's get 100 under our belt.
And I'm glad you kind of touched on that point. Like, there was a point where I was like really worrying about pace. And I'm not even talking like 100 wise, but I wanted to do a pace thing, and then I was kind of miserable in a lot of my runs because I was pushing it to an uncomfortable pace for a long period. And there was a point where actually the zone 2 running kind of got me into this, but like just enjoying the run. At some point, like it's like. And that's been earth, so I'm with you completely.
Yeah, so no timeline.
Even though I still want to do the backyard.
That's like
the challenge of that.
Right, I completely agree.
Or do the
last man standing. I think he did 147. Like 36 hours or something like that. But and then my plan is just to add. I think I want to do a 61, which is 100K, and then an 80, and then 100. And I'm actually.
But those are, you just, like, how do you get there? How do you, because 56, I mean, how much do you feel like you had left in the tank?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. It was empty.
So what gets you to that next level, besides just pushing through?
Well, okay, so,
because I kind of feel like, so the marathon kicked my ass the first time I did it.
Right.
And it wasn't until, for me, when I started aiming to 50, then 26 became easy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like.
Right.
And there's certain things I did in my training. I'm wondering what gets you.
Okay, so I think the 30-20 was a huge boost, right? So just mentally,
so if you don't know, backing up a 30-mile run with a 20-mile run, like
the next day, which is just so you can run those 20 miles on broken legs and feel good about it. And my 30-20 was great. I felt amazing on my 30-20. I felt terrible yesterday, but that was more had to do with taper and some other things that I can change next time. So more 30-20s or 30-30, you know what I mean? Like that just boosts your confidence. Like when you did your 130 mile bike or whatever it was, it's just like you just build that confidence.
And it's getting into your muscles in a different way. Like,
right. Yeah. Your weak stabilizing muscles are actually getting trained, which is the ones that you need when you're at that distance. Yeah. So I think that is a big part of the training. I think having lower expectations on the outcome of the 100 is, just, for me at least, because mine's all a mental game, makes a big difference.
You walk.
Right, exactly.
And then, like you said in the race yesterday, the reset.
Yeah.
And that was.
So I learned, real quick, my first 50, I got to mile 36 and had a complete breakdown on the side of the road in Falmouth on Route 1 in front of the Starbucks, completely crying, because I was like, I can't go. I was looking at my watch. I'm like, I got 3 more hours of running. I don't want to run anymore. But I also didn't want to quit because then I knew I was going to have to do it again. So I'm like, I've already come this far. So you get yourself into a window where you're like, going forward is absolute pain and misery. But I've already put in this much time. So that was my first 50. And then yesterday, that window went, and I went from 36 to 41 walking on my first 50.
Right.
A little bit of shuffle. But I was actually walking to Michelle's house to quit. I was walking 3 miles. I was like, I'm going to get to 40 and I'm just done. In that period of walking, you rest, you get a second wind, and then you're like, okay, now I'm at 40, I can finish the last 10. Yesterday, and I told you, my objective with the race was to push the dark window out further and to get out of it quicker. So I went dark at 42. I was on that left leg off Kennebec Road, and I was like, I'm done. I'm just going to walk home, and I'm going to be a real bore on the podcast. I'm going to have nothing to talk about because I just quit. And I had that for like 2 minutes. And I remembered because I was like, I've been here before, so let me walk my way out of this. And that's when I passed you. And I was like, I'm hitting the reset. I'm going to walk until at some point I know I'm going to feel like running again.
Right.
And then within the mile, so from 42 to 43, I was like, I think I can go. And then you're at 43, you're 9 miles out, and you keep going. So every time we do this, you put, that's the cookie jar, and you put a little note in your toolbox that says, you've been here before, you know how to get out of it. And, if that hits at 60 on the 100, I mean, I don't know. The numbers are crazy to me. I don't know how anybody does it.
I don't either.
But this is why we're training. This is what we're doing. It's not about, can my feet move one in front of each other for 100 miles? Yes, everybody knows that. Anybody can do that.
I don't think everybody knows that.
Yeah, everybody should. But can you pull yourself out of the darkness quickly and multiple times? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but I know I can, and I don't know how many attempts that's going to take or what, but that's the skill set that we're training right now. Right. And we're applying it to a 100-mile race, but it can apply to anything.
I love that it still feels impossible to me.
Yeah.
That's why I want it
it's
so much.
So annoying.
That's what's so attractive to it that
it's like, no, when I finished yesterday, you have those moments where you're like, you've just run 52 miles and you're like, zero chance I could do this again right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's not true.
Right.
Like, it is possible, and I don't know, it'll be fun when we do it, but.
So one thing I want to change, and I do want to add in, which my runs are so about, okay, I'm doing 13 miles, I'm doing 20 miles, I'm doing, and the mileage map.
Yeah.
And if I'm being real with myself, hills up and down are the thing that takes me out.
Yeah, that one killed me yesterday.
That's the, and I'm like, I gotta start, like, I literally need to just go to a big hill and just do the hill. And not even look at, I don't care about my miles, I'm gonna put in until I get to uncomfortable.
Right.
And then I'm gonna go a half hour more, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, because I gotta strengthen those muscles that take you down the hill. I gotta strengthen those muscles that take you up. I'm with you that the up, especially as I get more tired, the up is easier to do.
Right.
Then the down becomes a nightmare. But how else am I gonna strengthen it? And I've been avoiding, besides running a really hilly area, but I've been avoiding hill runs, and I think I need to take that. I think taking that to the next level, if I can build that up. I watched a guy doing, he was training for the Barclays Marathon, and when he found out he got in, he was in Europe, Amsterdam maybe, or I can't remember where, Belgium actually, and there was that hill there was like a mountain, and he'd run that path over and over and over again, and they ended up naming the path after because he'd run it so much, and I was like, I have to do something like that.
Yeah.
Like to get to the next level, I got to strengthen that. That's my weakness in running right now.
Right. I mean, I think training. Certainly the training aspect of it, but for me, it's the mental stuff because your brain always goes before your body,
right.
and you'd be surprised what your body can still do, but if your brain's not willing to push through, then you know what I mean. So, but
Right.
you have to recreate those moments. You know what I mean. So yesterday was a training exercise to recreate that dark moment when I wanted to quit, when I was convinced I was going to quit. Like I'd already made up my mind. I've done that twice, and then it's like then you go to work on getting through that experience. And the only way to do this is to put yourself in that situation. And I think that's what so many people just avoid. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, if I couldn't do this naturally, then what's the point? You know what I mean? And it's like, well, the point is that there's more to this than just our physical body. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, I look at the 100 as just a great mental toughness exercise, and I also want to get it out of the way in somewhat soon because
So you put a time limit on the thing.
not a time limit. No, I know, but I want to go back. I really want to. I'm equally interested in a 3-hour marathon. That's because I'm just excited about that one. That just feels like a training program that is a little bit more manageable. It's hard, extremely hard, but so I want to get back into some speed work, but I got to get some of the big ones out of the way first.
Yeah. Back to the balance thing too, is like, what's the optimal balance of how rest, recovery, those 32, and that's where I think the 30-20s are actually such a key, because you can put in this brutal 2 days and get a lot out of it, and then a couple of easier days, instead of like every day just going after it, and figuring that out. And it was interesting, I saw just a thing on triathlons. They did a study on like how many hours people put in and like the results, and actually the people for Ironman, the people that put in like 20 hours per week, or I'll get the numbers, let's say 10 hours a week as opposed to 40 hours a week in that whole graph, the 10 actually performed better.
Yeah, there's diminishing returns,
but it was minimal.
Right.
The best predictor was how many Ironman you'd actually done before.
Yeah. No.
So that speaks to the mental part.
Absolutely,
like figuring it out and being more confident and learning through the mistakes.
Yep.
So definitely, but there's also the physical part of, like, I don't feel like I'm strong enough right now to do 100. Like I could go to a dark place and probably push there, you know. But there might be repercussions,
right?
Because I've pushed through something,
right?
And ended up injuring myself. I'd like to do it and not be laid up for 2 months again.
Right.
But I'm 100% on 100 focus right now.
Yep.
Ironman's done.
Yep.
I want to get there.
Yeah.
I think hills, 30-20s, the fasting that we've been doing, but that's another interesting part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Nutrition.
Yeah.
So my Ironman Garmin, who knows how accurate it is, but told me 7,000 calories were burned during my Ironman yesterday is what they estimate. And I took in, I did the math this morning, maybe 2,000.
Can you pause this real quick? I've got to use the bathroom. I know we're almost done, but I want to come back.
Yeah, so fueling an ultra, fueling 100 is a different thing.
Yeah.
And if, so you've got to eat more than you have to eat.
You still on?
Yeah, we're still on. I'll just snip out that part. And to be the most efficient digesting, you need to not be running.
Yeah.
For a stretch.
Right.
To let your body kind of take in what you just ate. And how to balance all that.
I'm fortunately good with like I don't have digestive problems yet, so that's great.
I'm with you for the most part.
But what I definitely notice is that and I've heard them talk about this, but food variability, because 9 hours in, like whatever I was eating yesterday, like I didn't want to even look at it anymore. You know what I mean? So how do you get 24 hours of nutrition in there where you actually can, just stomach the food? You know what I mean? Like I didn't want another energy bar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever the case was. So.
And this is the first time this has ever happened that I remember. Have you ever been like in movie theaters and you had Sour Patch Kids and you have too many of them and your mouth is just beat out?
Yeah.
I took a drink last night of a Gatorade. It was just there. I was just thirsty. I need something. And like felt like needles going
Yeah,
through my, like,
yeah.
I think all that salt and stuff, it just,
Right.
and then just eating anything was like
Yeah.
beating up my mouth.
Right.
It was painful. Like,
Right.
I was worried this morning. I'm like, well, I don't have a voice
Yeah.
to try to do this podcast.
Yeah, I don't, nutrition, race day nutrition is very elusive. I don't think I know that. And I bet that changes so frequently just based on how you feel that day.
Right.
So,
Right.
but that's why I think fasting is such a great tool, because worst case, absolute worst case, you know you can go without
You can
it.
hold off, and,
Right.
and fat's gonna
Mhm.
push you through it for sure. And hopefully the reset happens where then you get past it and you can then digest later.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the things that ultra marathoners, you know, they're eating mashed potatoes and they're eating pancakes, and it's kind of at some point what your body's gonna handle. What,
Right.
you know, if
Yeah.
the quesadilla is what you can get in, the quesadilla is what you can get in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. We did 3 hours.
I know. Felt like 2 minutes.
It definitely went by fast.
We
And I
still
didn't
have
even-
so much to talk about.
We really do. Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, this whole journey with you, and doing this. This excites me, doing this with other people,
Yeah.
doing family member, just because we all have these different. We all come from these different places. We have different ideas.
Right.
How we get to our ideas, different ways of thinking, and I definitely do too much. I don't like to talk about myself. I don't want to be in a group of people and be boasting. Like, it drives me nuts when somebody's, you know, you're there and like, oh, I run this, I do this, I do that.
Right,
It's like,
Right.
you need me to say good job or something.
Right.
But I also don't ask the questions of people either. Like, I'm fine just not sharing my story and not getting their story. I want to
Yeah.
break out of that. Like,
Right.
once again, it's this whole seeing your weakness, seeing where you're lacking, and challenging yourself
Right.
to do something different.
Right.
And these little quick, on a bike ride recently, one of Kaylin's teachers, Mrs. O'Brien, former teachers from middle school, and she's on the board of trustees with me, so I kind of know her. And I biked by her, and we said good morning to each other, and I mentioned something about them training for, you know, an Ironman, and then we went our separate ways.
Yeah.
Like there was no, and she's one of the ones that I want to get in and have a conversation with her, actually, on a podcast. I know so little about her or
Right.
all these people in my life.
Right.
And, you know, there's just these quick little interactions, and I think life would be kind of cool
Yeah.
to get to know more
Right.
and have literally questions you and I were just talking about,
Right.
and getting completely different perspective.
Right.
You and I are so, we're kind of lockstep with a lot of things
Right.
that we think.
Exactly.
And getting, branching out from that, politically, emotionally, family, upbringing, like there's,
Yeah.
people are interesting, there's so much interesting out there.
Yeah.
We're so quick to just be like the guy yelling at me on the side of the street.
Right.
and, you know, because I was biking on the side of the road.
Well, I'm more interested in the process than the performance, and so some of the best conversations and some of my best friends are the ones that I can sit down with and like talk about, like what if they're having troubles at work or whatever. It's just like I don't care what you do for work or where you've been or any of that kind of stuff. It's like, okay, well, what are you learning? You know what I mean? Here's what I've learned, and like
Right.
giving different perspectives. Like those are the best conversations, and that culturally, that's something we do not do. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
all about checking a box, or, you know, I did this, I did that, and it's like, oh, okay, great, but I want to know what you learned. You know what I mean? What did you avoid that I could avoid? You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And I wish that was the substance of our communication.
Right. And you talked about how your family tends to be black and white in that upbringing. And life is so nuanced.
Mm.
And I think it was maybe like an English class or somewhere, like where persuasive argument kind of writing class, where they're like, I remember a teacher saying you need to, you had to put in a counter argument. But the best way to make an argument is to basically look at the other side and understand the other side.
Right.
And if you understand, I'm really interested to see how, like, I have ideas of things like why would we want this? Because it's clearly, well, some people have ideas, you know, defunding the police. Let's just throw that. I don't really understand the other side of that, but I'm sure there's well thought out
Yeah.
people that, You just
Yeah.
grab that on out of the
Right.
air. Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting to know different perspectives.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It makes your perspective more, broad and
And then
and
you're
colorful.
more understanding of other people.
Right.
Like it back to I mean I'm a broken record with this, but it snowballs.
Yeah, it does.
Into positivity and better life, better understanding, better, like I'm going to talk to this teacher, I believe she's retired or close to retirement. The wealth of knowledge she has, who Melissa just started as a teacher.
Yeah.
Like that knowledge can be shared, and,
Yeah.
and like, and maybe somebody else watches this podcast and gets some ideas from her, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
trying to make this. We're all going apart so much, and I
I
like
know.
to bring people together.
Yeah, it's good.
And maybe nobody watches this besides you, me, and your mom.
Well, we'll do more. We've got more events coming up, so
Awesome. Thank you so much.
thank you.